This video looks at the name of God, or rather the names of God, as he has several, and the numerical implications which come from those names. It also looks at the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, who are made in the likeness of God, and regards how their names relate to the name of God himself. The primary name of the Creator is the Tetragrammaton, the four-letter name, Yod-He-Vav-He, transcribed in English usually as IHVH. And the pronunciation is disputed, but it's often given as Yahweh or Jehovah. In Judaism, it is a name which cannot be pronounced, or should not be pronounced. The meaning of the name is he causes to become, and this is appropriate in his role as the creator. By Gematria, we see that Yod-He-Vav-He has a value of 26. Looking at the first letter, the Yod, this, with the value of 10, is the fourth triangular number. And as the fourth triangular number, it is also representative of the Tetractis, which was the most sacred symbol of the Pythagoreans. Yod is also the smallest letter physically in the Hebrew alphabet, and it has the appearance of a tiny seed, like a jot or tittle, and it signifies that everything grows from one tiny point. So it's a symbol of generation. The first two letters of the name, Yod-He, sum to 15, and this is a fifth triangular number. The first three letters, Yod-He-Vav, sum to 21, and this is the sixth triangular number. So the first three letters of the name produce a sequence of the fourth, fifth, and sixth triangular numbers. If we add 4, 5, and 6, we get 15, and back to the fifth triangular number. Notice that Yod-He is the short form of Yahweh, Yah or Jah. And if we write that by the names of the two letters, we find that it then sums to 26 itself. For example, Yod is spelt Yod-Vav Dalet, and so it has a value of 20. He and Aleph sum to 6, so 20 and 6, 26. The value of 21 also gives another name of God, and this is Eheye, I am, or I will be, as found in Exodus 3, verse 14. This was the name that God told Moses to tell the children of Israel about who had sent him to them. And then we can take the sequence of 10, 15, 21 and add the final figure, which is all four letters, 26, and put them together, 10, 15, 21 and 26. That makes 72, which is an extremely important number, and it brings to mind the 72-fold name of God, the Shem HaMeforash, otherwise known as the explicit name of God, which is the full form, the full Kabbalistic form of God's name. Graphically, the relationship between 15 and 26 can be represented by the sacred figure of the vesica piscus. A vesica with a width of 15 will have a height of 26. This is a square root of 3 relationship. Thus the square root of 3 mediates between Jah and Jehovah, or Yah and Yahweh. Now, if we take the width and we use it to form an equilateral triangle with 3 sides of 15 in the top or the bottom half of the vesica, we have the value of the name Adam, the first man made in the likeness of God. It's also the case that a vesica with a width of 26 has a height of 45. So 26 multiplied by the square root of 3 is 45. The difference between those two figures is 19. And 19 is the value of the woman created from man's rib, Eve, Cheva in Hebrew. If we combine Adam and Eve, we find that the new total for their names is 64, which is significant as 4 cubed or 8 squared, and it is a highly divisible number. 64 is also 37, the building number, times the square root of 3. So again we have the proportions of a vesica piscus. If we then add the name Yahweh to Adam and Eve, and we have a trinity of sorts, we find a new total of 90. Now 90 can be represented geometrically as 2 equilateral triangles within the sacred vesica, whose height is 26. Now when there are 2 such triangles, it is a very natural geometric permutation to merge them to form a 6-pointed star, to drop the top triangle to raise the bottom triangle. And if we do this, we find that the figure can be inscribed in a circle whose diameter is the square root of 3, or at least multiplied by 10 with a shifted decimal place, 1.732. The circumference of this circle is 54.4. Now looking at those figures, I was immediately struck by the fact that 54 and 90 come in a completely separate account of the creation. They turn up in Plato's Timaeus, and Timaeus is where he describes the creation of the universe by God. And the basic material for this creation is represented by his lambda series, lambda being the letter L, which looks like an upside-down V. And you'll notice on the left side there is a progression going up by factors of 2, and the right side by factors of 3. And those 7 numbers add up to 54. However, there is a sense in which some numbers are missing. Some can be interpolated. In fact, there are 3 of them, 6, 12 and 18, making 36 in total, 6 times 6, 6 being the number of creation. And when these are added to 54, they make 90. And thus 2 of the numbers we've just seen in the Adam, Eve and Yahweh hexagram. Now, the lambda series is intimately connected to the creation, which was otherwise described as coming from a fusion of 2 quantities, which Plato called the same and the other. But before they could create the world, they needed to merge to form a third entity, which was called essence, ousia. And it is from this trinity that everything was made. So this has similarities to Yahweh and Adam, producing then the third form, the essence, which was Eve, out of the other. And the other was made out of the same, or God. Now there are, or at least the parallels between Plato's creation and the creation in Genesis have been noted by some fairly serious scholars. There's a man called Russell Gemerkin who's written at least 2 books, quite serious heavyweight books, showing the connections between Plato's creation and Genesis. Now Gemerkin thinks that the Genesis was written in response to Plato's creation, which is possible, although perhaps unlikely, because the Genesis is written in an archaic form of Hebrew, which would be difficult to copy in response to Plato's writing at a later date. Another name of God occurs actually before Yahweh in the Bible, and this is Elohim. This is a 5-letter name, and it is interesting in that it has a plural ending. To some, this suggests that we're looking at a host of gods, a plurality of gods, or other people believe that the plural is used like the royal we, and it signifies the importance of the owner of the name. If we look at the first 3 letters, Aleph, Lamed, He, we find that their value is 36, the 8th triangular number. The next sequence of 3, Lamed, He, Yod, sum to 45, which is the 9th triangular number. The final 3 letters, He, Yod, Mim, sum to 55, the 10th triangular number. So here is a perfect sequence of triangular numbers in groups of 3 letters, which looks intentional. If we then add 8, 9 and 10, we find they sum to 27, which is 3 cubed, or a trinity of trinities. Then adding 36, 45 and 55, we arrive at 136, which is the 16th triangular number. All these triangular aspects of God's name were discovered by a man called Ian Mallett, and I learnt this from Vernon Jenkins from his website, where he credits Ian with these discoveries, and I think it is a remarkable thing to have found. Whether anyone knew about this beforehand, I don't know, but I'm making no claims to my own benefit for this. It was Ian's work, and if he ever listens to this video, please get in contact with me and I will put more details on Ian's work. As to why God should choose triangular numbers to represent himself, I have a theory that it symbolizes his fecundity, his fertility. It is like an ancient symbol of exponential growth. 1 goes to 3, goes to 6, goes to 10, goes to 15, to 21, to 28. It's a progressive growth. It's a way that the Creator works, like a sowing of seeds. If we now look at the combined name Yahweh Elohim, in the Bible, like the King James Bible, this is translated as the Lord God. And here we can put the letters into 3 groups of 3. The first group, Yod He Vav, has a value of 21, the 6th triangular number. The second group, He Aleph Lamed, sums to 36, the 8th triangular number. And the last group, He Yod Mim, sum to 55, the 10th triangular number. Once again, a trinity and a perfect sequence, 6, 8, 10. If we add together 6, 8 and 10, they make 24, or 8 plus 8 plus 8. And this is perhaps suggestive of the name of the New Testament Redeemer, Jesus. The value of his name is 888. There are other reasons for choosing 24. For example, the prime numbers are very significant in numerology, and they can all be arrayed in onion skin layers of 24 digits. 24 is the key to the layout of the prime numbers. Another point of interest is that 6, 8 and 10 are in the 3, 4, 5 ratios of the Pythagorean right-angled triangle. Obviously, this is one of the most important figures in sacred geometry, probably ranking alongside the vesica piscus in terms of importance. If we take the name Yahweh Elohim and write it by the names of the letters, we get a higher value. And here we can see that the first letter Yod is spelt Yod Vav Dalet, and its value is 20. The sum of all of these numbers is 345. Now, there are good reasons for thinking that 345 was very important to the writers of the Bible, or the Torah particularly. We see that the greatest prophet in all of Judaism, Moses, has a value of 345. We also see that the Messiah, Shiloh, has a value of 345. The name of God, if you cannot pronounce his name, is called the name, Ha-Shem, and this has a value of 345. A further name of God, Al-Shaddai, has a value of 345. It does seem to be important. An entirely different name of God in the Bible is I am that I am, or Eheyi Asher Eheyi. And we can see that this has a value of 345 in reverse, yani 543. It seems to be significant. And if we put that together with Al Shaddai, we have I am that I am, the mighty God. And this has a combined value of 888, which brings to mind the name of the Redeemer in the New Testament, Jesus, who has this value. If we then put 345 together with 543, we get this number, which has factors of 9339 times 37, the building number. And 9339 is very interesting. There's two decimal mirrors, 93 and 39. These are the factors which make 3627 the value of the first verse of St. John's Gospel, the creation verse of the Logos. The other way round, 543345 is also divisible by 37, this time 14685, whose value I don't know any significance to. However, a different set of factors is 1221 times 445. Now here again we have mirrored numbers 12 and 21, and in another video I show how the 12th prime number 37 and the 21st prime number 73 are also mirrors, and those are the factors which make 2701 the value of the first verse of the Old Testament, of Genesis. So it is very interesting to find 9339 and 1221 as factors coming out of this combination based on 345. Adam, 45, is, of course, a triangular number. Out of Adam came the rest of humanity, 45 being the 9th triangular number. Eve has a value of 19, which very sadly is not a triangular number. However, the 19th triangular number is 190, or 19 with a 0 or nothing at the end. So it's connected by 19. And 190 is the value of the Hebrew word tselah, which means a rib. Eve was made from a rib of Adam. The rib was the seed of Eve. If we combine Adam and his rib, we get a new total of 235. This is interesting because 235 and 19 are the critical numbers in the Hebrew calendar. This was based on what's known as the Metonic cycle, whereby 19 solar years is exactly equal to 235 lunar months. And this calendrical feature seems to have been encoded in the names of Adam and Eve and the rib. I have another video about this and showing how these numbers are also to be derived from the value of the first verse of Genesis, or the first two verses of Genesis. In the beginning, Eve was not called Eve, she was called woman, or Aisha, and the value of Aisha is 306. If put together with Adam, they get a total of 351, which is the 26th triangular number. This is, of course, the value of Yahweh. If Eve is combined with Aisha, we get a new value of 325, which is the 25th triangular number. If we then combine 351 and 325, we arrive at 676, which is 26 squared. Looking at 676, we can see that it gives the Gematria value of the Hebrew word for a triangle. Hence the square leads to the triangle, the quaternary to the ternary. Represented graphically, 676 looks like a square with sides of 26, and what's significant here is that the diagonal, made by multiplying 26 by the square root of 2, is 37, the building number. 37 also gives the name of God in Aramaic, or Imperial Aramaic. It is Al-Ha, and this would have been written in the Hebrew script. It was a language spoken in Judea amongst the Jews for many centuries before the birth of Christ. The Hebrew language having been forgotten, basically. We can see that Al-Ha also is the origin of the name Allah of Islam. To finish off, we can look at man and woman through a process of Kabbalistic reduction. Adam, 45, Aisha, woman, 306, has 0 in the middle. It has nothing in the middle. So if you take out nothing, you end up with 36. Now, Adam, we saw before, is 45, the 9th triangular number. And 36 is actually the 8th triangular number. Notice that both are factors of 9. And in fact, 45 and 36 make 9 times 9, 81. So 9 is common to man and woman, and this is appropriate because 9 is the number of a human being on account of the 9 openings in the human body, 7 in the head and 2 down below. Now there will be some who will argue that a woman has 3 openings below and even 2 more from which to breastfeed. But 9 is generally taken as the number of a human being on account of the openings. 9 is also suitable for the union of the man and the woman because it comprises the sum of the first cube and the second cube. 1 plus 8 equals 9. And 1 is considered the first masculine number, and 2 is the first female number. Secondly, we can see that the addition of 8 and 9, being the triangular factors, makes 17. And 17 is important when we consider the 17th triangular number 153, which is 17 times 9 once again. And students of the New Testament will recognize 153 as the number of fishes caught in the 21st chapter of John's Gospel after the resurrection. And this is very powerfully connected with sacred geometry and the vesica piscus, the fish-shaped figure. In terms of the Old Testament and Hebrew, 153 gives the value of Bnei Ha-Elohim, the children of God. And I think that's a very neat description of Adam and Eve. The next video in the series will be looking at the name of Christ in the Greek of the New Testament. If you'd like to see this, please subscribe, make sure you don't miss it, and click like if you've enjoyed this video. Thank you.